A review by Terence Keenan, published on the 3rd of the 12th, 02. If you had asked me about 6 months ago what I thought about the McCoy era and the subsequent Virgin NA book line, I would have responded with something along the lines of irredeemable flaming horse shit. After posting my thoughts about the silly McCoy flame wars on RADW, I felt obligated to dive back into the McCoy era and see if old opinions still held up, or whether or not I was young and stupid. I still think the McCoy era is deeply flawed, though I can understand why some people championing the 12 TV stories in the Virgin line so much. There's not much to say about season 24. It's a comedy season mostly. The whole tone of this season is set the moment you have Kato Mara in Mel Dragon Time and the Rani. I should have enjoyed this season. Hell, I think season 17 is brilliant with its mix of humour and drama. However, the humour in season 24 is forced, and in this comedy season we have a vaudeville performance by Sylvester McCoy. I'm probably in the minority who thought the malapropisms were not all that bad. It's just that instead of acting, there's just lots of mugging and general silliness for the camera by both Doctor and others. By default, I rate Dragonfire the best of a very weak season because of all the film critic references in the names. One of the better leaving scenes for Bonnie Langford's Mel. Time on the Rani and Delta and the Bannerman are horrendous, and Paradise Towers falls apart by not having a director understand the ideas in the script. Also, season 24 benefits from a minimum of continuity references / tie-ins to past stories. From there, the powers that be, J&T and Cartmel, stuck with a very silly Doctor of their own creation via BBC intervention, tried to make him something more. A super evolved Doctor on a mission, willing to do whatever's necessary to beat the bad guys. A Doctor with deep, dark secrets. A champion of time. And it's incredibly wrong. Here's a good explanation as to why it's wrong, courtesy of the very funny and insightful, completely useless encyclopedia by Chris Howarth and Steve Lyons. It used to be that the Doctor was a simpler wanderer in space and time who quietly slipped away from his own people in a broken down old TARDIS. Nowadays, we have to believe that on the way out he stockpiled all the Time Lord's greatest weapons in case he needed them to commit genocide against the Daleks, Cybermen, etc. In the course of one such plan, he sealed the Nemesis statue into a comet, sent it into an orbit that returned it to Earth every 25 years. Each time it passed, it caused disasters. In 1913, it was on the eve of the Great War. 1938 was the eve of World War II. 1963 was the assassination of President Kennedy. But let's get this straight. The Doctor unleashes a weapon that causes the two biggest wars in history and the murder of a respected politician, then brings the Cybermen to Earth to kill yet more people. Also, they'll reassemble the Nemesis status and trigger it against themselves. Need I even bring up the Hand of Omega stupidity in remembrance of the Daleks? John Blum on both Outpost Gallifrey and on RADW makes the argument that all the Doctors previously had been treated with contempt by both companions and enemies till the final 2 seasons of McCoy. I'm generalising his point, but this is the essence of why he thinks McCoy is the best Doctor of all. The reason that the Doctor is a hero is because he's not perfect or godlike. He does make mistakes, and because he does, it makes his victories all the more satisfactory. In order to make the Times Champion scenario work, you need a Doctor who has the gravis to make this believable, and this is McCoy's failure. McCoy unfortunately never had the acting chops, or time rehearsal and shooting time were minimal in his defense, or scripts have this idea come across effectively. Tossing off dialogue bits like, "and didn't we have trouble with the prototype," don't cut it for me. No ideas like the alleged evil from the Dawn of Time and Curse of Fenric, a shallow concept in itself, being beaten with a rigged chess puzzle and a Deus Ex Machina, ending work either. McCoy's 3 best stories from the last 2 seasons, Ghostlight, Survival, and The Greatest Show in the Galaxy, stay away from the Times Champion / mysterious Doctor concept, and instead focus on the Doctor's relationship with Ace, an overrated companion at best, but that's another review. Ghostlight and Survival are both variations on the idea of evolution gone awry. GSITG was about Doctor Who, fandom, and the BBC. All 3 feature McCoy's strongest performances in the role. Of the remaining from seasons 25 and 26, you have 2 sheer abominations, Battlefield and Silver Nemesis, 2 overrated mediocrities, Remembrance of the Daleks and the Curse of Fenric, and the Happiness Patrol, a cousin of GSITG, as it could be viewed equally as disaster or genius. And although I can see where other reviewers have found more merit, Rob Matthews, Joe Ford, and Mike Morris, in my honest opinion, the faults are far too visible to overcome any positives. With the books, I see the same problems. The stories that turn me off are the ones laden with the Farah Gatry / Times Champion / making deals with death and pain and other Eternals nonsense. The best of the Virgin line either hint at it, love and war, steal the good parts and dump the rest, set piece, left-handed hummingbird, or ignore it altogether, transit. Unfortunately, the novels concentrated on bad companions, Bernice Summerfield, New Ace, soap opera angsty and working with concepts that were boring, the dark time of Gallifrey, the Pythia. Call me old school, but in the end, the Doctor should be taking on the enemy head-on with the joie de vivre of winning the battle. The reason I rate Transit the best of the NAs, I defy any true Who fan to not have a smile on their face the moment the Doc calls the alien program in transit Fred. Anywho, I see the 7th Doctor's era as flawed by a bad concept, whole Times Champion / Dark Doctor idea, which to me seemed a reactionary attempt to redefine the Doctor who would have been forever labelled by the tag of silly. There are some good stories in the McCoy/Seventh Doc era, but those are the ones which ignore a bad concept and stick with what make the Doctor great, a hero with flaws, a Time Lord who is all too human and mortal.